If you've got a question, the voices of resin are here. Oh, PlastChicks.
PlastChicks is an SPE-sponsored podcast.
Hey, Lynzie, happy birthday.
Thank you. I like that you're very festive for my birthday, too. It feels, and you're wearing pink, like we're coordinated. God, this is a good birthday.
Yes, for those listeners who are not watching us on YouTube, I changed my Zoom background to look like I'm at a birthday party for Lynzie.
Very corporate appropriate, I think.
Yeah, I had to refrain from texting her today because I wanted it to be a surprise. You know what? Actually, I guess I could have done both and not seem like I was an asshole, or sorry, a butthead who forgot your birthday.
Hit the button.
You know, we will take it. I just assumed you were very busy and that you were saving your happy birthday for later. So I appreciate that there is a visual element to my birthday.
I mean, I already did get you a birthday present. I actually also have
You
a Christmas
did.
present.
I
I
did
have
give
a
you
Christmas
credit for
present for you in addition.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
Yes.
No pressure. No
Good
pressure.
time of the year for me. Well, I'm Lynzie Nebel.
I'm Mercedes Landazuri.
And with our powers combined,
we are PlastChicks, the voices of resin.
Yep. And you can listen to our podcast the first Friday of every month, every single month, even in those bleak months, even in the good months, you get an episode. All of them. We're on Spotify. We're on, I don't know where else you listen
Apple
to
Podcasts. That's where I listen to them, on Apple Podcasts.
See, I'm a Spotify kind of girl. But the free membership, I don't pay for it. It's not interested to me.
What was your Spotify age, by the way?
Oh, I was very young. I was like 23.
Oh, okay.
Ask me, Mercedes.
It's my
Ask me.
We should introduce you both first, and then that will be the first question.
And your first question is what...
I'm very proud. Clearly, I'm very proud of my number.
Well, great news, because we have two guests today. So
yes, we did. Sorry, mixed up. Yes. So we have Mr. Pat Farrey with us today. We'll have them explain their titles in a moment. And we also have Mr. Matt Seaholm with us. Thank you so much for joining us on the pod.
Good to be here.
So before we get into your titles, what is your Spotify Wrapped age?
Oh, come on. I'll just be bragging when I tell you it was a 36.
Wow. Look at you.
Right?
Wow, that is impressive.
Yeah. I'm significantly younger than my wife's Spotify age, so I'm not sure we're going to be able to stay together. So.
Oh, no.
We'll see what
Understandable.
happens,
so she's like a Spotify cougar then. That makes sense.
That's a good way to look at it. It's a very May-December sort of Spotify relationship. So, we're working through it. We'll be all right. So.
Matt, do you have your...
I'm sorry to say I don't use Spotify, so I guess I'd be a newborn. I'm not sure how it works. But
I think that's how it goes. I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys both so much for being here today. I know we have a ton, probably the most questions listed. So we're going to try and fly through these, knowing very well that we are going to get distracted and talk about all the things in between. So let's start with what Mercedes kind of alluded to. Can you guys give us a brief introduction and what your title currently is, but what it will be when this episode airs, it'll be airing January 2nd of 2026, and there will be a bit of a change.
Well, I'll go ahead and start. Unless the board of the Plastics Industry Association tells me otherwise, I will be the president and CEO of the Plastics Industry Association. But our association is going to look a little bit different next year, thanks to the fine folks at SPE and Mr. Pat Farrey. So, Pat.
Hi, everybody. I'm Pat Farrey. I'm currently the CEO of SPE. But if all goes according to plan, on the 1st of January, I will be an executive vice president and chief integration officer with the Plastics Industry Association, helping these two organizations come together, merge our business operations, and become better together.
So, Matt, ideally your business card stays the same, and Pat, yours actually becomes two-sided because I feel like that's a long title.
That's a long title. It's a continued on back page sort of title,
Perfect.
but it's exciting stuff. I'm really excited to be part of helping these two organizations figure out how to work together.
Now, can you each tell us a little bit about your day-to-day jobs and something that people might be surprised to learn that you actually enjoy doing?
Yeah, I'd love to tell you that every day is the same, and make it easy, but no day is the same. But I love it. I love my role as CEO of the Plastics Industry Association for a variety of reasons. Um, most days are about engagement with members, in one way, shape, or form, whether that is on the advocacy front, whether it is, just improving and engaging on the committee structure of the organization, doing a lot of things on sustainability, everything to standards and anything in between. There's a lot that we do, but you asked kind of what would be something surprise that I enjoy. It's the advocacy part of it that is enjoyable, but I'll give you an example of where it becomes surprising. In the first week of December, the fine folks over at Greenpeace put out a report and made me into a cartoon, three different ways actually, and you kind of say, oh boy, that's it's not really what people aspire to be, but actually, it is flattery for us because if Greenpeace is, and if don't bother reading the report, but if you want to know what it's about their anti-recycling stance, and they hate that we say things like recycling is real and promote the heck out of recycling of plastic. And because of that, they're attacking us. Well established. If the other side is attacking you, you must be doing something right.
Right. I mean, as Taylor Swift said, it's actually romantic, right?
Ooh, yes.
Definitely reminds me of the Taylor Swift song.
Anytime we
Where
can
she's
invoke the great words of Taylor Swift.
Big Matt's first Spotify song when he joins.
There you go. You
There we
don't keep
go.
your Spotify age very young.
Yeah.
And how about you, Pat?
Uh, I, I get the great privilege of working with some of the smartest people in the plastics industry from all around the world. The diversity of SP's membership is really quite interesting, and I love being around people that are developing new things, finding new technologies, solving real world problems, and that I can help build programming through SPE that supports them in their career journey and in the work that they do is super cool. So it's really great. I can start my day talking to folks in Australia and my day talking to folks in some other part of the U.S. So it's really a pleasure to know so many great people that work in this industry.
There are a lot of cool people. So right now, technically, SPE and Plastics are two different associations. So you are the leaders of both of you are the leaders of them. What are the most misunderstood parts of leading major plastics associations? Because I'm sure not many people say, "Ah, you're the CEO of Plastics." I know exactly what that's like.
Yeah, I haven't met that person yet that knows what the heck I do, but um, probably it's the Plastics Industry Association, but the plastics industry is not a monolith, right? It is not one thing. It is really yeah, a confederation of a lot of things, different segments, different products, materials. I think that's probably the kind of the biggest challenge that any association executive has is trying to build that consensus and bringing everybody that falls under a really big umbrella together to achieve something. We do our best, but there's always competing interests and factions and personalities. But that's our job, bringing the industry together, and we do it the best we can.
As Taylor Swift says, that's showbiz, baby.
Theme is emerging here in our little
Yeah.
talk today. That's cool. That's cool. I think that's right. These are two organizations that serve the entire plastics value chain. And when you think about what that is, that's people and companies who make automotive parts, medical devices, building and construction materials. Did I say packaging? Did I say electronics? Consumer goods. Those people have very diverse, different industries they serve and customer bases they serve, but they share technologies, they share processes, they work with the same materials. And so it's really interesting to see both the differences and the commonalities with the different parts of the folks we get to work with every day.
Now, as we mentioned, this agreement hasn't been finalized in pen ink yet, but it will be soon. It will be by the time this episode airs, much like it in pen ink, much like the pen ink on my Caleb Williams jersey after he beats the Packers on December 20th.
Ooh, we're throwing out fighting words already.
I'm manifesting. I'm manifesting after our recent loss. But and as I'm sure Pat is feeling, Chicagoan as well.
For the pain.
Yeah. So can you tell us about this merger, about when the discussions around this merger really started to gain momentum? And what was the key moment when both of you realized it was the right direction for the industry as a whole?
Well, I think it started after the Packers beat the Bears last year as well.
As I recall.
And it really took off. Yeah, I think Pat and I can both agree on this one. We just sat down for a beer actually in Busan, South Korea, because we were in the neighborhood. Now it was the Global Plastics Pollution Treaty discussions that were happening over there, and just kind of said, this is interesting, and we started to talk a little bit more. And I think for me, where it became the right thing to do is when we fully recognized that this was in the best interest of the industry. Once that happened, we kind of really made the determination it's our duty to see this thing through. So early on, it was it was us having some conversations, but then bringing in the respective executive committees of both of the boards. I think once there was darn near unanimity in there to see this thing move forward, I think it took off pretty quickly. There was a lot of due diligence, a lot of additional conversations that went into it. And there'll be a lot of conversations going forward about the right way to structure it. But for me, it was really that that moment where we knew this was the right thing to do. It was just logical to see it to its conclusion.
These are two organizations that have collaborated and worked together for years. I mean, for decades. And those opportunities to collaborate have come and gone as the priorities of the two organizations have changed over time. And but really, when Matt and I talked about what his board wanted to accomplish and what the SPE board wanted to accomplish, and we started to see a lot of areas of overlap. I don't know if it was Matt said it first or I said it first, of something like, boy, wouldn't this be easier if we were all under the same roof? And that kind of led to some discussions. And when we presented the ideas to our chairs and ultimately to the executive committees and boards, and saw their excitement and their vision for what these two organizations could accomplish if we really aligned forces, not just co-located an event here and there or promoted each other's programs, but really got together. The excitement that happens around those conversations made it clear that this was something that we needed to explore further.
This really kind of harkens back to when my sister and I lived in an apartment together and our closets were separate, and we decided our third bedroom would be a shared closet. The efficiency really just spiked. It made so much more sense after that.
I was actually going to say it reminds me of Step Brothers. There's so much room for activity.
There's so much room for activity. And did we just become best friends? Yep.
I believe we did, except for that whole football team thing. We're good on every other count. So
And Pat, you were kind of alluding to it a little bit that, it just makes more sense with all the overlap. But was there a specific gap in the ecosystem, like in the plastics ecosystem, that you think a unified plastics industry association can now solve more efficiently than, one of the groups going at it alone?
I think the places that the opportunities really present themselves is one around the advocacy piece. Both organizations do advocacy work, plastics with the capital A advocacy, the government relations, the legislative tracking and monitoring and influencing, an SPE with kind of the small A advocacy, the grassroots work, the kind of stuff that we do through our Plastivan program and our Girl Scout badge program. Uh, Combining those really gives us a chance to amplify the voice of the industry and to share in that work and continue to do the things that each organization is good at, but also to combine resources and pull on the same end of the rope to make sure that messaging is getting out there. And then what that leads to obviously is the whole workforce development piece. We know that the industry is looking for its future workforce to make sure that the businesses can operate efficiently and that there's people to work in the industry. Having a positive outlook of what plastics is and does in society and in the world, it's kind of essential if people are going to think about it as a career choice. So being able to influence that, get that positive plastics messaging out there, to align resources around that was, I think, really one of the places that we're going to see the most impact long term. I just hope I didn't get a Greenpeace cartoon about me anytime soon. So,
Not yet.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll echo the workforce development piece of this is really, I think, central to the wisdom of this better together integration. I think the amount of work that we can do together to really ensure that the right education, training, expertise, it gets in the hands of the people that need it across the industry. I think there's so much that we can do and really build upon the work that SPE has done to date. This is something that plastics hasn't done to a great extent, and it was one of the earlier conversations that we had about how can we amplify a lot of the technical expertise that SPE does have to provide value to our members. The other thing that I really like is a possibility is we have a lot of conversations around tables where we're looking at maybe it's policy or sustainability best practices or even standards. And a lot of the engaged members at the Plastics Industry Association come from one side of the table. SPE members coming from the other side, really being the technical experts. I think there's some opportunity here to assemble some pretty robust, we'll call them roundtables, but ongoing discussions that really help us develop things that are in the best interest of the industry. And policy is one of those, and that gets into the advocacy that Pat was talking about. But even some of the things that are necessary for us to be a truly sustainable industry are going to come from not just the direction and perhaps sometimes talking points that instruct it, but really the nitty-gritty details that allow it to be operationalized. So I think there's a lot of good stuff that we're going to be doing, and I'm excited for it.
Now, I know that the morning that the merger was going to be announced, I think, Pat, you sent out on Leadership Lane, a letter to us addressing on Leadership Lane that, and I think I had a list of frequently asked questions, and I've seen some other FAQs floating around. What is something that is not in the FAQs that you think that people really need to hear about this merger?
Well, I think that the FAQs have been pretty fast and furious. So I think we've addressed a lot of the big issues there. But I think the thing to remind people is that the impact that the Plastics Industry Association has with the companies in the industry and the impact that SPE has with the people in the industry, neither of those are going away. we're just going to kind of find a way to marry those two different types of memberships into a way that serves the industry better. Companies will still be able to join plastics, people will still be able to join SPE, but we'll find ways for there to be better collaboration and integration of the programs. When we were doing our due diligence here, we found that only about 12% of the people that participate in SPE also participate in the Plastics Industry Association. That leaves a lot of room for crossover and for sharing of programs and sharing of information. And I think that just makes everybody smarter and it makes the industry better. So not really an FAQ kind of thing exactly, but really I think one of the benefits of what we're doing together is that sharing while continuing to serve both the companies and the people that make up the industry.
We'll let it slide.
Thanks.
Yeah, if there's maybe something that's not accurately captured in the FAQs or sufficiently is really the complexity of this whole integration process. We have talked about it, and I have, beaten the drum pretty consistently that this is going to be a thoughtful and methodical process. And I thought it was great as things started to come together when Pat and I talked about the idea of him taking on the role of Chief Integration Officer, and why I felt like that position was important. This isn't going to be a snap your fingers, all of a sudden January 1st rolls around and good news, guys. We've got one organization. We're not even going to be one organization in the sense that we are truly merging everything together. SPE has an identity, it has a mission, it has a brand, and Plastics fully wants to embrace that. But there are so many ways that we can work together, events, even some of the back office stuff that is going to be important to achieve some of the cost savings that we want to. It's going to be a long process, and we're going to take 2026 to really be the year of integration. And you may not see an overabundance of truly blended activities until probably 2027. I think in 26 there's going to be a lot of things happening together as we plan for this. But I think maybe more externally, you're going to see this really rolling out later in 2026 and into 2027.
And 2027 is an NPE year. Is that right?
Darn
Convenient.
right. That's a really good drop in, Miss Sadie. We appreciate that. Yeah, make sure it's on your calendars for May of 2027, NPE in Orlando.
On it. Sounds like you have some things to take care of next year, Pat.
Busy, but it's great stuff. We're in that kind of weird phase now where we're figuring out how to make our computer systems talk to each other and figuring out how checks are going to get written to our vendors. That's not the fun stuff. I mean, that's stuff that's necessary, and we need to get that stuff ironed out. But the bigger stuff is when we start looking at ways to integrate the programs and begin that kind of cross-pollination of ideas and opportunities between the memberships of the two organizations. That's when we'll really begin to realize and see the impact that Matt's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get into that. Your role as Chief Integration Officer. What guiding principles are you going to be using, if you know yet, to make sure that the merger feels thoughtful and equally considerate of both organizations?
Yeah, somebody told it's an old sales thing that there's a reason you have two ears and only one mouth. You should listen more and talk less. This is Matt's a really smart guy, but the two of us aren't going to be able to do this alone. We're not going to sit in a room and figure out what this looks like by any means. So we're going to surround ourselves with the stakeholders in the industry who know what their companies need and know what the people in the industry need. And we're going to figure out how to leverage all of these great tools. We've got this kind of, you scatter the puzzle pieces on the table and then you start trying to figure out what the picture looks like. There's some really powerful pieces here. I mean, Plastics produces the largest plastics trade show in North America. what a great thing for SPE to be able to, now be part of the family that produces that event. That's cool. Plastics produces some really great industry economic reports, trend data. How great to now have access to that, to be able to bring resources into that as those reports are developed. So when we start looking at those pieces and we start talking to the people that that we serve in the industry, that is my role. This is not magic. I'm not, this is really just about listening to what the industry needs and wants, and and moving us in that direction and figuring out how to fill those needs.
And both of you have mentioned several times that transparency is non-negotiable in this merger. What does that look like for members? Spill the tea on the transparency.
Well, I would love to tell you, but it's on a need to know basis, and we just can't. No, I'm kidding. That's not the
Wait
way
a
we're going to
minute.
approach it. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Pat just said the magic word, and I think that's right. There's no magic wands that are going to be waved, and all of a sudden dramatic changes are going to be made. I oftentimes say that well, our association is only as strong as our members' willingness to engage. And that's the way in which you build an association and really grow one, is that engagement. I think there are a lot of ways to engage, but in this process, if there's some shared ownership felt in how the future of plastics, how the future of SPE look, there's just going to be a greater likelihood that it's going to succeed, because everybody that had a participation in it is going to feel a sense of ownership in it and want it to succeed. So I think the transparency only this only works if we're transparent in the decisions being made, and also the suggestions being brought to the groups that are going to be making decisions. I will say the SPE Executive Committee is going to be really, 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 really important in this process. They're going to play an important leadership role in kind of probably the next 10 plus years of SPE, because this is a moment in time that's really big for the plastics industry, and like I said, I'm excited for it.
Well, I hope whoever's the chair of that next year does a good job,
I
because
hope she's ready for the challenge.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be her.
Being the CEO of a professional society or trade organization is very different than being the CEO of a for-profit company. Matt and I are not shareholders. We are not owners of these businesses. We are entrusted with the care of, of two 80-year-old organizations, and the people that they serve and the industry that they serve. And that's an important responsibility, and something that I know neither of us take lightly. So when we talk about transparency through this process, it's in service of the members. It's in service of the people who have made these organizations. A lot of people have volunteered a lot of their time over the years to make these organizations into what they are, and we want to serve that work, and we want to take it to the next level. So I think when we talk about transparency, it really is about making sure that the stakeholders are engaged in the process and helping set the direction for us going forward.
Now, do you feel like there are specific areas where the member suggestions, member input is going to maybe more directly shape how the combined organization might operate moving forward?
Like your average Joe and Jane Schmo member.
Right. Yeah, not specifically like board of directors.
I think when we think about the members that we serve, we think about the people who come to our programs, the people who sign up for SPE's training or education programs, the people that come and walk the floor of the NPE show. These are the people that we serve. They may not be the most visible or the most involved people, but they're the people in the industry that we serve and we think about. So I envision us doing some industry surveying and asking some people questions about things. The obvious question that everybody asked as well, will Antec be co-located with NPE again? Well, that maybe, but that's a conversation that we have to have with the folks that attend Antec and NPE. What is in their best interest? How does that work for them? Antec is a very busy week. NPE is a very busy week. Is it wise to slam those two very busy weeks together from the viewpoint of a typical member? So I think those are the kinds of places where we really need input. This is a turn. Matt has said it often that this is an opportunity for us to modernize both organizations. 80-year-old organizations sometimes get kind of stuck in the way that we've always done things. This is a chance to really shake that all up and really look at it all through the eyes of not the people who've been in the industry for 50 years, but the people who are going to be in the industry for the next 50 years.
Well, I love that you mentioned that and then disappeared.
Yes.
Deb, we're gonna need to start that part. So Pat, I love that you mentioned like modernizing the societies because they have been around a hot minute. And, the people that we are interested in, growing this industry are going to be our Gen Z, our Gen Alpha, we're starting to look at not necessarily just engineers in the traditional sense, but we're looking at people who are involved more in design. We're looking at more technical students. We're kind of expanding what it means to be a member of, SPE or now Plastics Industry Association. So when you look at that kind of stuff, we're talking about making this combined organization to kind of create offerings for those types of people. This is just going to be a hot take because I know how you love this.
Off script here, but go ahead. Yeah.
Always off script.
I'm aware.
What do you think it'll take for it to click with some of those, non-traditional types of interest groups to realize what plastics has to offer? This is for either one of you. So,
Well, yeah. Pat, you want to go first?
Sure. I'll take a swing at that. I think one of the first things that we have to do is that we have to create an environment where people walk into a room and see people that look like them. So look, we've all been around this industry a long time. We know that it's the people that participate in, and I'll speak for SPE now, that the people that are most visible in SPE work tend to be later in their career, and they tend to be male. And that's not a bad thing unless it means that those are the only folks that are participating. So I'm excited to figure out what it is that the next generation needs. I know what 60-year-old people who've been in the industry for 40 years need. What are the people who are coming up behind them? What do they need? And that's really where we need to lean into, younger leaders, a more diverse voice around the table, so that we can serve all parts of the industry differently. And, so I think as we look at what it's going to take, the Plastics Industry Association has a terrific program called the FLIP program, the Future Leaders in Plastics. They've been serving that community really well for a long time. Well, now we can plug that community into SPE and SPE into that community. And so I think it just creates opportunities that all lead back to Matt's comments about workforce development and making sure that we have a sustainable industry and sustainable companies in the industry. It's not rocket science. We have to attract people to this industry, and they have to be people who are going to be here for a while. So I think that's really where that emphasis needs to be, Lynn, is in that piece and making this an attractive business for people to work in.
Yeah, you're 100% right, because even some of the processes, how you get a job, how you approach a job, how long you stay at a job. I know even just within the last few years, I've had the conversation about why my resume doesn't look like somebody who's been a company man for 50 years. mostly it's because today's my 40th birthday, so I haven't been in a company 50 years, but also that's just not the dynamic of what goes on anymore. It's not your yearly cost of living increased wages. It's you need to jump for experience. You need to jump for salary raises. And, while it's not lost on all people of other age groups, it's not always necessarily that obvious to people of other age groups. So attracting, people that understand that, or at least helping people understand that, I think will help increase the attractiveness of our industry.
Yeah, I'll add on top of
Thanks.
flip program, and sorry, Lindsay, you aged out today, so can't officially use in plastic.
So
But
close.
hey, they never invited me to join either, so it's okay. And I aged out a couple years ago. But one thing that we do in Flip is we've got these thing called Flip files, and it's profiles of the the call them kids in the program. One thing that I really do see as an opportunity with SPE is there are so many stories to be captured and told of those who did make that decision to join the plastics industry and the impact they're having, whether it's on, it could be sustainability issues. I mean, it could be energy consumption. It could be reduction of material going into packaging. It could be safety, medical devices, you name it. The number of stories that should be told to the next generation of a potential plastics workforce is going to be greatly increased from a plastics industry association point of view because of the engagement of SPE members and stakeholders. So I see that as kind of, if we're talking about what's going to click here, I hope that we're going to gain access to a whole lot more stories. And then we also have the opportunity to tell those stories. Pat started this by saying, people need to see people that look like them when they show up to an event. Well, same thing goes for a video on TikTok, right? If you're thinking about the plastics industry and you see, somebody that looks like, a typical plastics industry employee, a 58-year-old white male, and you're saying, well, I don't know if that's the industry I want to join. Well, how many 27, 28-year-old engineers are doing something really impactful at their business just a few years out of engineering school? You want to have an impact. You want to do something big? Join the plastics industry. That's what we should be telling them. Don't say, run away from it. It's not the right place for you. We've got a lot of opportunities to tell those stories, and I think we're going to have some success doing so.
Well said, well said. Now, we've talked about the movie Step Brothers and the shared excitement of so much room for activities. What what what's an example of something that you're both excited, either training or outreach initiative, something that the unified organization will now be able to scale nationally or maybe even globally?
I think there's a couple of real immediate examples where plastics is doing events, in a particular vertical, and so is SPE. That the two immediate one are Vinyl Week that the Plastics Industry Association produces, and Vinyl Tech that the SPE's vinyl division produces. We've already begun having conversations about how to make sure that those two programs are complementary, not competitive. To make sure that we're sharing resources and having conversations. Same in flexible plastic, flexible packaging. There are two groups serving those industries, serving the people in those industries separately. So just getting them talking to each other is going to be a real benefit. I was in the Plastics Industry Association offices a couple of weeks ago, and they had a meeting of their bioplastics committee. And sitting at the table at this big committee meeting were two folks who also serve as leaders in some SPE chapters. And we got to talking, and the conversation was around, boy, we've been trying to get these organizations to kind of align and work together. This is a great way to do that. So when you look at the chapter structure of SPE and the committee structure of plastics and the events that those two groups produce, I think there's some immediate opportunities to to create that, share the bedroom, same goal kind of thing.
With bunk beds?
Bunk beds, exactly.
You bring up a good point, Pat, because I think one of the things we heard initially when this merger was announced was that, why can't SPE and Plastics just do events together as opposed to being one unified organization? And I know one of the first conversations we had about it, you mentioned, it is, that's always an option. But here's the thing is these are all run by volunteers. And at some point, the volunteers that are running the thing don't become the volunteers that aren't running the thing. So to have that level of consistency amongst a unified organization is a whole different ballgame than just people saying like, yeah, we should do that at the same time together and just knowing that off the top of your head.
And Matt, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. And developing a long-term shared strategy around that too. When the two organizations are operating separately, they're each having conversations about their strategy and their direction and the things that they need to do to serve the industry. Sometimes those two strategies will bump into each other or overlap, and you can create collaboration, but then they kind of drift and so this way we have a chance to align the visions of the boards, the strategy around the programming, the impact for the industry, the voice that we share. I think that's going to be the significant difference here versus just being pals and working together on some stuff versus really being part of the same organization.
And Matt, what about you? What are you excited about?
Well, I was going to say Catalina wine mixers at all the events.
Yes.
But we'll have to see if that's in the budget. But yeah, I think where I see some pretty significant 1 + 1 = 3 math happening here is really in the education, training, workforce development side of the business. There is an incredible amount of expertise that resides within the SPE membership, and it's not sufficiently getting to where it needs to be. We want to help do that. We want to really create the platform for these experts who want to, inform and educate both the current plastics workforce, but the future one as well. And that's where the economies of scale of two organizations like ours really come together and ultimately, drive success. So I think, being able to combine some of the reach with some of that technical expertise is probably going to make both of our value propositions a lot more robust.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff we have on the horizon. And I think, I think it's being in this industry, sometimes you take for granted, and I know you alluded to it earlier, Pat, but like there's so many smart people in here to sometimes be learning from somebody who's like the actual expert or like invented it. Like there's not a lot of places where you get to say like, oh yeah, I was talking to this guy, like he invented it. It's fine. It's no big deal. You get that within these organizations, and to like maximize that usage is incredible.
I want to mention that, obviously I'm in Chicago here. I'm actually meeting up with Wendy Honig and Mark Wolverton this weekend to go catalog Glenn Beal's vast library of stuff. And it's just like amazing, like to be able to have, worked with Glenn on the board and who's was a legend in our industry, has inspired so many people. And now to be able to go with two other amazing people in the industry and go through those things and I guess he had his own like Dewey Decimal System that he invented. Like
I can't even imagine.
It might take more than a weekend, but I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, because you were able to interact with
exactly
one of the actual legends of the industry, which is incredible. Well, Pat, I have a question for you. When before we actually talked merger, what was one of the things that this is like a, say something nice about your sibling kind of situation we're going to do right now. Um, what was one of the things about plastics that you really like one of their events or one of their services, maybe MPE, maybe not, because like that's kind of an obvious one that really you looked at it and you're like, ah, I wish we could do that, or I wish we could take an element of that, or like that's really cool that they do that.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's always, most industries or many industries have a organization that serves the companies, the trade
Mhm.
organization, and an organization that serves the people, the society side of the business. And I think the people on the society side always look over the fence and say, boy, look, they've got, businesses belong to their organization and they've got corporate leaders around the table. And I think the trade organization looks over the fence and says, "Oh boy, look, they've got all those technical experts around the table, and isn't that cool?" And I think we both kind of have a little bit of envy about that, right? And now being able to put all of that together into one room and kind of stir it up and figure out how to best serve the people and the companies in the business, I think is really going to be cool. And obviously the big envy was around the NPE show and an event that brings together the whole industry and a global audience, and it's that long, and it takes so much attention out of the marketplace in those years. That's a big deal, and I've I'm pretty sure that we're now going to be kind of inside the show as opposed to just an exhibitor at the show. And we'll be able to figure out how to bring SPE resources and SPE's people and SPE's chapters to bear to enhance the experience for everybody who comes to the NPE. So,
Mhm.
I think that's the nice thing I'll say about that. Plastics has an incredible staff team. They have incredible resources. As I've gotten to work with them every single day, I'm impressed more by who they are and what they do and the passion that they bring to their work. And I think that's it's really going to be incredible to be part of that team.
And Matt, same question to you. What about SPE services or products did you really envy, and why was it PlastChicks?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
It's really it. I mean,
You
this
went the
is
long way to get access to the PlastChicks product.
We're worth it.
yes, as Pat and I have been negotiating the asset transfer agreement, the sticking point really is the PlastChicks podcast
I
and
knew
how we value it.
it.
One
But
trillion dollars.
yeah, at
Man,
least.
skyrocketed.
Yeah, so yeah, I think there are a lot of things. I'll start with the access and involvement of academia. This is really, really important for us as an industry from a credibility standpoint and also thought leadership. It's something that SPE has that we could only wish to create. And that's where I think there's probably going to be some good opportunities. I was just talking with one of our incoming officers of the board about one of the more significant packaging programs in all of the country at Michigan State. And is there a chance for us to really uh, better partner with institutions of higher learning to help grow that future workforce? So that's just one piece of the puzzle. I think it was maybe it was probably amongst the first 1 or 2 years that I was at the Plastics Industry Association that I was exposed to Plastivan. And it was actually something that the Plastivan folks came to the Plastics Industry Association headquarters, and we got to kind of see what they do. And when they're going in to talk to kids, this is the way they get them excited about it. And I've still got a picture of the little, I don't know what goo that we made. And it was fun. It was tactile. It was right in front of us, and that type of programming is going to be really important for us to talk to kids who are otherwise told, that plastic is bad or don't go into that industry or don't even think about it. No, actually, it's really cool and it's amazing the things that you can do. with all types of plastics and other types of materials. So the list goes on, but Plastivan's something we're excited to help grow and hopefully make even more significant.
Mhm.
Now, Pat and Matt, we know you're both very busy CEOs, and we'll want to get back to it. But before we finish, what's one takeaway that you would like our listeners to walk away with today?
Boy, one word I don't know that I've mentioned enough, or maybe at all during this, is value. When we've thought about how do we create more value out of this, we also talked about preserving the value for the membership. That's going to be a really big part of this integration process. Is we want to preserve the value that members currently get. We want to make it better. We want to improve and increase the amount of value that is created. But this is about building a much more valuable membership in both of these organizations. And you said one, but I'll throw the second one in there. Everybody in this process, I hope, is really focused on the future. That's why we're doing this. It really isn't. If this was about 2026 or 2027, I don't know that this really makes a ton of sense. But when we're thinking about 5 years, 10 years out, it really makes sense for these two organizations to come together and start building things in a cohesive manner. So I think it's really going to be important that we stay focused on why we did this, and it's for the future of the plastics industry.
Really encourage people to engage with both organizations, with the new combined organization. It doesn't need to be like the trade organization of the 1970s. There are a lot of ways to participate and to be involved and to give and get from being involved in an organization like like this. You meet some great people. You learn some interesting stuff. You may find your next job. You may find somebody who wants to invest in what you've invented. You may find a new mentor or someone that could help you navigate the system. You may meet somebody that you don't do any business with, but they're just really become a really great friend. And I think when you look at the opportunities for what you can get out of an organization like this, put a little bit in, and I think you'll be surprised. I think you two ladies are a good example of that. And you have great networks and great following, and you do great things, and you give back. And but I think you would both admit that you've gotten to have some fun and met some good people along the way. So I really encourage people to figure out how they can get involved in the organization. If you have any questions, shoot me a new note, shoot Lynzie, Mercedes, Matt a note, and we'll certainly plug you into the right folks, the right opportunities. We promise we're not going to make you run a big giant conference or anything your first day.
Congratulations, you're starting MPE. Go.
Exactly.
But maybe run like a 5K just for if it's a CAD retech,
take a walk around the block, something like that. Yeah. So we could start small, but I really think that the people that become engaged in these two organizations really have a much different experience than those who are on the outside looking in. So we strongly encourage you to engage and keep an eye on us. There's some good stuff coming up.
Yeah, agreed. Well, guys, it was so nice to have you on here. Really appreciate hearing, your insight into this merger that is now Pen Inc. official when this airs. And we're really looking forward. I mean, I know I'm looking forward to 2026. So let's do it.
Well, as a longtime listener, first time caller, I'm really happy to have been part of the show. Actually, I think I was on one of the very first episodes.
You were on
one of the first episodes,
and it hurt my feelings a little to ever be invited back. But
all you have to do is a giant merger, and you can come back.
That's right. Every time we do something major, we'll come back. So thanks for that. So.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
If you've got a question, the voices of resin are here. Oh, PlastChicks.
PlastChicks is an SPE sponsored podcast.